So what is family-based mental health services? It's unique in many ways. It's not in all of our different states, so I thought that was really interesting. When I moved to Texas for a while, we're not family-based in Texas, but it is here in the state of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania Counseling Services, we cover 7 different counties, I believe. In the family-based model. And what is family-based? So specifically, family-based is a team-delivered service, meaning a master's level and bachelor's level provider work together to work with children and adolescents up to the age of 21 who are experiencing high-risk either behaviors or circumstances that put them at risk for out-of-home placement. What does out-of-home placement mean? It can mean a bunch of different things. So out-of-home placement can be this child is struggling with suicidality or self-harm and they're at risk for hospitalization. This child could have pretty significant acting out behaviors, meaning they're looking towards an RTF or a therapeutic foster care system. It could be the family is struggling with so many different factors that they're at risk for homelessness. So there's a lot of different ways in which it could be the family is involved with CYS and there's some concerns about the caregivers being able to safely care for these children. So there's a whole bunch of different reasons why a child might be placed outside of the home. And the purpose of family-based is just to create an environment in which that child can remain within the home. Family-based is a strength-focused model, meaning that we believe that the family, that the caregivers, that the system present in place with some shifts and changes is the true mechanism for change. And so we don't go in with the desire to stop and address a behavior necessarily, but we're looking at how the system works together to influence and impact the behaviors from others. And essentially, if we can make some shifts within that system, perhaps we can create more lasting, sustainable change towards reducing non-preferred behaviors that could lead to out-of-home placement. Family-based is a short-term, time-limited service, meaning it's only 8 months. That's our authorization. I mean, we show up, we create stability, and we're constantly from day one working ourselves out of a job. It's based in the theory of ecosystemic structural family therapy, which is tied very much to family-based, but can also be used in other treatment modalities, including outpatient, inpatient, and many other types of services. It is also a time-intensive service, meaning it's limited, but during those 8 months, you see those families from 6 to 8 hours a week. With a couple of different pieces in there. So ideally, you see an individual session with your IP or the kiddo that was referred for services. You also do a caregiver session with whoever is involved in that family system's caregiver resource. And then you also try to do a family or sibling session perhaps along the way. So to true fidelity of the model, you have those 3 types of sessions every single week within the family system. There's also a lot of flexibility in family-based, so every week's going to look a little bit different. And a family-based team carries around 7 to 8 families at any given time. What did I miss? Oh, there's on-call, which I always forget to talk about. But on-call is one way in which each family-based provider takes turns throughout the month or months, depending on the size of the family-based program, where for 1 week they're on call, meaning those after hours that usually 4 to 5, kind of depending on the county, to 8 a.m. the next morning. If a family goes into crisis in that evening or on weekends, they call the family-based on-call phone. So there is that on-call component, with ideally the goal being we can de-escalate and regulate via the phone. But in some instances, we also need to support hospitalization to create safety in those moments. Yeah. What did I miss, guys?
I think another unique thing about family-based is that we're able to work with the larger systems as well, that we do have the flexibility to be able to have sessions with the school if they're the child's struggling at school, or another mental health provider that the family is involved with, whether it's a trauma therapist or an outpatient therapist, psychiatry. We're able to go with to med appointments, which is something that I think our families really benefit from, because they often need some support with the advocacy or letting their voice be heard.
Yeah, because different kiddos will have challenges in different environments. Some kiddos will struggle in home, school, community across the board. And some kiddos may hold it together at home and really struggle at school, or they might be little angels at school and just be difficult at home. And so with being systemic, we get to see the kid and see the family in all environments and help where needed.
Yeah.
I think family-based is often not the first type of treatment that a family's had. It's a voluntary service, so you cannot be court-ordered or mandated to treatment. It's a huge investment on the part of the family because we're looking at leveraging the family system to have change happen for that child to be able to have the best of who they are come out in their family. And so oftentimes while we follow this model for doing family therapy, we are able to do all of the case management services for everybody in the family. So it could be great-grandparents raising great-grandkids. There could be multiple kiddos in the home that need support that we're going to connect those kids too. And we do provide the on-call part when we're asking families to try to do something different. Like instead of doing what you've done over and over that hasn't worked, call us for support and we'll walk you through it. So I think they've typically had other treatments that focus on the kid alone and not the kid in the context of their family. And that's a really new way of looking at problems or solutions.